Namaskar and welcome to this exciting show, Sathology Debunking Mythology. And today we have very prominent guests. And if you remember, we had spoken about uh, South America and the travel of Ram Sena to South America. And most of you liked that show. Today we are going to go a little one step further about Hanuman, because Hanuman is very, very highly respected in South America, North America, and also India a lot. Virtually, you'll find Hanuman Mandir everywhere. So we'll learn about from these guests who are coming to educate us about what is Hanuman, who is Hanuman, and why is it important for ourselves. So without delay, let us welcome Shri D.K. Hari and Hema Hari.
Namaste. Namaste.
So before we start, where does this, the legend of Hanuman comes from? Obviously, comes from Valmiki Ramayana, but how did it become even more popular than of all the characters other than Bhagwan Ram in Valmiki Ramayana? Hanuman is the most famous. How did that happen?
So let's start with the story of Hanuman's mother, Anjana, which is why he's called Anjaneya. And there's Anjana Hill in Hampi, where as the legend goes, he was probably born there. It's in Kishkinda land. Nowadays it's known as Hampi. So that's probably the place he was born. There's a temple also for him there, which we can show you the image here. And before that, if you look at it, we have Hanuman's mother, Anjana. There's a hill for her in the famous Tirumala hills, in the Tirumala Tirupati area. You got the, which is known as the Saptagiri. It's made up of 7 hills. Saptagiri. It is Seshadri, Totadri, like that. Adri means hills again. One of these is Anjanadri. So the family of Anjana, her parents were probably from this Anjanadri hills, which is sort of geographically fairly close to Kishkinda Hampi. It's in present day southern portion of the Andhra Pradesh state, this Anjanadri, Tirumala range of hills, from where she could have probably gone up northwest and married Kesari. So that's, and then had this Suputra. Putra means child, Suputra means good child, Anjaneya, because named after her mother, Anjaneya. And so that's how we have that. And he's also got this name, Hanuman. What is the meaning of the word Hanuman? Since you mentioned the term Hanuman specifically, Hanuman means one with a long jaw. So his physical nature, how he's shown, is with a long jaw. So that's why you get the term Hanuman. That's what it means. So based on his physical characteristics, he was given that name by his parents probably and people around him. That's how they could easily identify him. That's one. And let's look at the name. His father, he's also known by the name Kesari Nandan. Because Nandan means child of, a good child. And it's called Kesari Nandan. And the term Kesari itself is quite interesting. Because the Kesari, if you look at it, it's this particular color of orange that we are wearing today, because Hanuman is known as Kesari, and then we thought we both will turn up in the orange colors for all to see and understand. That's what the color is. Kesari also means another meaning. We have written about it in our book, Brand Bharat. The word Kesari is for the saffron color and also for the spice. It's a very exotic spice called saffron. It's primarily grown in Kashmir, in Persia, and in Spain. It's only primarily in these 3 places it's grown a lot. It's called Kesari. And this particular spice, Kesari, it's a nice flavoring, coloring agent, and also got a lot of good health qualities to it. This particular, and this word Kesari is actually king among spices. Among all spices, Kesari is king among spices. It's actually it's in a flower. The stigma of a flower is Kesari, that color. That's why it's called it. Incidentally, look at the word Kesari. In India, the word Kesari also means king.
Mm.
Any king is known by the title Kesari, which when the word traveled west into Europe became Kaiser in German language. For king, all the kings of Germany are called Kaiser. For the last few hundred years, you look at it, all the Kaiser Wilhelm, different Kaisers, they are there. And from that, when it goes to Netherlands, it takes on the term
Koning, king, and so on. So that's how the whole path.
So and when it travels from Netherlands and Germany across the English Channel, west of the English Channel into England, it becomes king. So etymologically, the root of the word king, Kaiser, and all this comes from the word Kesari and Kesari Nandan. So the Hanuman connect has got a very different, interesting connect. Incidentally, we have mentioned this in our book. You would like to show that piece? Just like to show you a piece from that book where you written about Kesari and this important connect across the world.
Oh, I need to be able to share.
You need to help us to share this. You need to give us a share facility.
Can you share now?
Yeah. I will share. Actually, this is from our book, Brand Bharat. I'll show you the cover later. This is about the spice and how the word Kesari denotes Hanuman's and his, and his father, who was the king, who was the chieftain for the tribe there.
People.
For the people there. So Kesari, also for Kesh, the hair, the mane of a lion, which has this mane. So Keshar, Keshara. And then from there it becomes Kaiser. And Hanuman's name as Kesari Nandan, meaning son of a king, chief. And that is how you find Hanuman always painted in this color of the saffron, Zafran.
Which is known in Persia as Zafran. So again comes from the word saffron. Saffron comes from Zafran, comes from the word Kesar, Kaiser.
That's not there in that.
Yeah. No, it's a great.
The lineage of Hanuman and the story of Hanuman goes much before Ramayana, and if you go into the Purana, you will find a lot about his birth and all the deeds that he had done as a child, going up to the sun, flying up to the sun. And very interestingly, you find the same kind of stories, connects of Hanuman with Hanuman as the son of the wind divinity. And this connect of Hanuman with wind divinity is found in so many cultures. You will find the wind divinity very prominent in the Persian culture. They have a divinity called Marut, Marutwan, who is again denoted as the divinity for wind, and also various other gods who are derived from him. If you go into the American civilization as well, in the Aztec, again, you have stories of the wind god and his son. Again, the wind god having a son. So this kind of a connect is very, very strong. Perhaps I can try to pick up that bit about the connect between Hanuman and. Let me just share this bit. This is in 2012. You know, the book, the connect that we spoke about, Hanuman, the Indo-American connect.
Mm-hmm.
See, what has happened is, I'll just zoom this up a little bit.
Can you go one page before and come?
Can be difficult. So here in National Geographic in about 1990,
we cannot see your screen.
You can?
You
can you see?
We cannot. Now we can, yes.
Yeah. So in December 1990, they had featured an article where they said that there were statues excavated in Mexico, which showed, figurines which had a very long jaw. And
this is the Mexican image.
This is the Mexican image of a figurine with a long jaw, and the Indian image of Hanuman again with long jaw. And there is also, then again, you find a lot of connection again, Narasimha and as well with the Indians. So the kind of legends that you see show that the notion of a wind divinity and a sun, in yet another culture, you'll find the wind divinity and the sun being called Ekthil and being worshipped as Ekthil. I'll just see if I can get that bit here. Still on share?
Are we still on share?
No, we are not on share. I think we stop the share.
No, you can share it. You can share it. So my another, while you're doing that, Vanara. When you say Vanara,
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. We'll come to that. We'll finish this and go there.
See, this is in the Persian legend of Marduk.
The word Marduk is phonetically similar to Maruti, which is another name for Hanuman. So you find the connection of Marut with Marduk in the creation story, where he is known as Marutwan in Persia as well. So again, it deals with the wind. So see the connection between the Vedic thought in India at the times of Ramayana period and later similar parallel time thought in Persia. So you see a very interesting connect. We'll show you a film if we can of that now, where we have shown this on it's in our YouTube channel on Amazing India film. We'll just show it to you now.
I think in Zoom I have to do something about the share audio. Just a second.
Were Hanuman and Vanara monkeys? In the English language, monkey is a term that has been loosely used in the last couple of 100 years to explain the term Vanara. However, Vanara does not necessarily mean monkeys. In-depth analysis suggests that in Sanskrit, Vana means forest and Nara means people or men. So Vanara simply means people of the forest. Vanara could also be an exclamatory word as in, are they human too? Vanara. In those days, there existed different groups of people who had minor, perceptible variance in looks and structure, yet were very similar to what we now understand as normal humans. Hence the raised exclamation, so human-like, yet so different. In the British records of the Gazette of Bellary district, which is very near to the modern-day Hampi, it is noted that the forest tribes of that area called themselves the Vanara people and used monkey as a symbol in their totem pole and flag. Hampi used to be known as Kishkinda in earlier times. Also, as per Ramayana text, Kishkinda was the land of the Vanara. So Hanuman and Vanara were not really monkeys, but perhaps a tribe with the emblem of monkey as used by the Vanara tribe even in recent times. It is this which possibly over time led to them being referred to as monkeys. The home of knowledge, wisdom and fine craftsmanship for thousands.
Go to the other film. Stop to the other film.
so in terms of the when we ask about the Vanara, we saw the video. I'm going to share the link also with all the students later on. So when
There's one more video for its connection with Mexico with Ekthil.
That one is not here. That one's not
That's there. I can share that with you.
We'll share it with you later.
So
Mexico.
So
So that we'll share later. But fundamentally, I think to answer your question as to why Hanuman is so popular, you find Hanuman one, like when we said, right, very closely linked with the geography of the land. You find the hills named after the the mother, and you are very easily able to pinpoint those locations Kishkinda exists. It is there as Hampi today. Anjanadri hills are there. And you also find, later I'll also show you one very interesting piece about Hanuman and evidence for his Sanjeevani hills. All through the land, everywhere you will find. See, Hanuman in Ramayana is supposed to have carried this Sanjeevani hill to revive Lakshmana, Rama's brother Lakshmana, in the battle with Ravana. And so he flew all the way to the Himalayas and carried the mountain, which had this herb, all the way up to Lanka. And on the way, he's supposed to have dropped it. And all along the path, exactly along the flying path from Himalaya to Lanka, Sri Lanka today, you will find places which have legends which correlate to dropping of pieces from this hill. So geographically, you find a connect with Hanuman as a person. Then you find connect of Hanuman with wind and wind god, not just in India, but across the world, across various cultures. So the sentiment of wind god, and you will find in the legend of this Ektil also connect between him and the sun, the wind god and the sun and this Ektil. So that, which is also there in the Indian legend of Hanuman, the wind god, and Vayuputra and Hanuman flying up to the sun. So there is a lot of similarity. So there is some underlying psyche across all these cultures about this aspect of Hanuman. And furthermore, all that he has displayed in Ramayana with respect to his character make him therefore very, very popular amongst people. He's supposed to be very, very approachable. And we'll try and show you yet another film. Did Hanuman really exist?
So, my next question to you will be that there's people are looking for identity now. More and more people are tired of all the book-based faiths which have been imposed through colonial powers, because virtually since 1492 it has been the worst time for South America and even North America. The identity of millions is wiped out. In fact, if you go to Brazil, the Brazilian historians don't show their history other than Portuguese history. They say the Portuguese are our founders. And the world knows they came there in 1500s. And so this is a big movement coming back. So Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, Chile, Bolivia, all these countries, right to Argentina, they're all having movements now coming, in their countries, where the native identity is being stressed, and the society is beginning to apologize. And I want that to happen in North America also, where they must apologize to Native Americans, where their culture is just a history books now. And so when it comes to Hanuman, there is a large attraction towards him on two accounts. Number one is that obviously the word Vanara has now spread, where they are humanoids or like human, and they consider themselves a different race, and therefore the word is Vanara. And so that's is growing. And the second is the another aspect which is very attractive is his intelligence and bodily strength, which is also very healthy for youth, because nowadays people's fingers are stronger than the rest of the body because they're working on iPhones and Androids. Yes, so these two aspects make it very attractive for everyone else, for the youth, for males, and for feminine also, because they can learn from something from that character. So what is
in fact, sloka for him itself is Buddhir Balam Yasho Dhairyam. So all that he stands for: Buddhi, intellect; Balam, strength; Yasho, fame, good name, being a very good person of good character; and Dhairyam, courage; and so many more. Nirbhayatvam, fearless; Arogatam, healthy;
Vakpaditvam,
Ajatyam, not being lazy; Vakpatutvam, good in speech; And so if you, and Hanumat Smaranat Bhavet. So if you think of, meditate on Hanuman, then, and you say the shloka, then you get reinforced with these characteristics of Hanuman, which will become yours as well.
So you try to imbibe these qualities into yourself. Buddhir balam yasho dairyam.
Nirbhayatvam arogatam ajatyam vakpatutvam cha Hanumat Smaranat Bhavet. Obviously, you will know definitely. I'm sure you would have taught that to your students as well.
So it's a point. So, see, this is what is now coming up. He had a blend of both the brain and brawn. And among the various grammarians of the civilization, like how you got Panini, Patanjali, different people, Tolkappir in South, different people across the land have been grammarians. Hanuman was one of the early grammarians, much before Panini, millennia before Panini. Hanuman was a grammarian. Not only was he strong in battle, also great grammarian. And you can't to be a grammarian, you must have extremely good knowledge of the language and know multiple languages of the time. Which is why when Hanuman goes to meet Sita, he thinks in his mind which language he should speak to her in. So because he was, and it is in that particular discussion with Sita that you get the term Sanskritam for the first time, because Hanuman thinks, what language should I speak to Sita in, address her in? Because if I address her in Sanskritam, he thinks, then Ravana is also a great scholar of Veda, so he can also speak Sanskritam. So Sita may think that Ravana has come in disguise as Vanara to speak to her. So he is contemplating in his mind as to which language he should speak to. So Hanuman was well versed in multiple languages.
So it is pretty logical to assume that that the Vanara were very educated people generally as a community.
Yes,
he was just part of that community, so very educated community. So
very erudite community, which is what Vali was, his wife Tara was, Sugriva was. All of them were very erudite. And Tara's father Suseshana was one of the premier Ayurveda scholars. Much again, millennia before Charaka and Sushruta, he wrote these texts. So Suseshana is known for high quality Ayurveda, what we think of today as natural medicine, because it was he who asked for Sanjini herb to be brought.
So,
and that's how it comes about. You want me to show? I can show you those slides.
Yes, please. You can show it. Yes. So one comment I have on that. So the calling Bhagwan Ram's army as army of monkeys is a mythology.
It is incorrect.
It is totally incorrect, and it is an Indologist version of it, but not the Sanatani version of it, or the people who actually follow the tradition like yourselves. It is not their version. It is a version of the Indologists who try to simplify things, and oversimplification sometimes is not needed, because Hanuman himself is a simple person.
Absolutely.
So viewers, there is a very famous Hanuman picture with his chest tearing open, and there you see Ram and Sita inside. And I think they were his Ishtadev, or the person whom he loved too much in his heart. So Ishtadev also is a concept, just means that someone who is close to your heart, which is Ishtadev.
Correct.
So yesterday we had a scholar called Jeffrey Armstrong. He's a Vedic linguist, I call him, more linguist. And he talked about the word God, that how we should avoid the word God. And because it has come from a very German origin, which means which has very different connotations than denotation. So it's oversimplification. So, but when we say Bhagwan, which is like the possessor of all the riches, then I think it's a different word. And the Deva is also a very good word.
Yes, in fact, they're all very connected.
Very connected. Yes, please go ahead. You can show that. Yes.
So this is Susheshana, and I hope you can see the screen.
Yes, we can see the screen. Yes.
Yeah. So it is Susheshana, that is Tara's father. That is Vali Sugriva's father-in-law, who was a Ayurveda physician, and what was his role? He could identify poisoned foods, because in battle foods can be poisoned. So you knew how to detoxify them, you knew how to treat people with poison and surgical needs, all these things. So he was one who asks Hanuman to go bring the Sanjeevani hill. And he tells where in which hill it's available also. Where it's available in a place called Dunagiri in Himalayas, a particular hillock among the Himalayan range. So he goes and brings it from there. So you show a range of people here who are all well versed in knowledge. So see here, she's showing you the image of this particular hill, which is called the Dunagiri hill. This is, and from there Hanuman brings the Sanjeevani booty, which is that jadi booty, which is the herbs. So he brings all the way up to Lanka. So here you got this particular hillock he brings, and then from the Himalayas, you can see that there, where in Himalayas it is, and where the Dunagiri range is in Himalaya. This is in our book Ramayana in Lanka. You can share the book cover with our friends so that they know where it's available for them to read.
And very interesting, finally, there is a place in Lanka which is called Unavatuna. It means that which slipped and fell from the fingers. So, and that is a place which is very rich in herbs as well. And very rare kinds of herbs grow there. So people in Lanka believe that, the droplets fell here, the Sanjeevani droplets fell at this place. And if you trace the path all the way in Lanka, you'll find it's a straight line as well. And there are tales which go back to Dunagiri, where the people in Dunagiri, they say that when Hanuman returned the hill before dawn, there were pieces of the hill missing. So they hold Hanuman responsible for those missing pieces. So the legends, the tales, somewhere in Lanka, something is there, somewhere in Himalaya, so much far away, there is something, but the legends, they tally so beautifully. And another point about talking about the Vanaras not being just mere monkeys, if we actually go through, it's very difficult to show you in such a short session, but if we talk about the Ram Setu, the construction itself, and Nala and Nila, the people who actually built the Ram Setu, who were part of Sugriva's army, they were engineers. They come from the Vishwakarma lineage. And they say that we are Vishwakarmas, we are architects, so please give us the chance to build this bridge for you. Because Rama tries a couple of times, Rama meaning the team, they try building it a couple of times and they don't succeed. And finally they say, please let us do it for you, we will build the bridge for you. And that bridge has actually stood till about 1400s. People could walk over that bridge from between India to Lanka. And all the entire construction, if you really go through the Ramayan's verses and map to how a bridge is built in modern time, how a civil engineering project would be, conducted, like a survey, the offer, the planning, the execution, all of that show that this was a team that was very well versed in engineering, civil engineering.
See, we're showing the slide here where Nala and Nila, the actual engineers of the bridge, this is from the original Ramayana text, Yuddha Kandam, Shloka 6.22, 0.50 to 0.72, where he says, Nala and Nila say, explain who they are. They make an offer to build the bridge to Rama and Sugriva. They say, we know how to build this bridge. We are belonging to the Vishwakarma clan. Give us an opportunity to build this bridge. So it's a long verse. And they say how we can build it. So we Vanara are educated people, knowledgeable, skilled, and we have been trained to build these things. So they make an offer to their king and to Rama and Lakshmana, and they build it.
And they talk about having used mechanical devices, yantraha, to build the bridges. So it is, like you said, it is totally incorrect to dismiss this group of ingenious, hardworking, very dedicated group of people as just mere monkeys. But, this is something very interesting that, Hari and I have been talking the last couple of days, ever since you said you wanted us to, talk to you about Hanuman. See, we were talking about this Vayu Putra, okay? Now, on the other side, look at Ayurveda today. Leave Hanuman and everybody, but just look at Ayurveda. in Ayurveda, if they divide people, right? I mean, people who have a lot of more Vayu in their body, some who have more Pitta, some who are more Kapha oriented, and so on. And people who are Vayu oriented, they are supposed to be very hyperactive in the brain and mind, and they are supposed to be very fidgety and very overactive and jump here and there. They can't stay in one place. If you look at all the characteristics that are used to describe a person with a lot of vata, which is Vayu, the air component, you might very easily say that, oh, he's like a monkey. All the kind of qualities that they have. So look at the resemblance. Here you have a Vayu Putra. Vayu is one of the 5 elements. And you have a Vayu Putra, and they are all called kind of monkey. So one really doesn't know what.
See, again, the word
how you tie these things up.
See, the word monkey is again
very deep. It's not just a dismissive thing like just mere monkeys, but there are many, many layers of meaning, of facts, of history, and science, all integrated so beautifully.
See, the word monkey is just an English word. Look at the original Sanskrit word, it is kapi. The word kapi has got similarity to the word kapila, Rishi Kapila. What does the word kapila mean? Brown, hot, powerful, flowing. So kapi also means brownish.
It's also a word that denotes lava as well.
Lava. So like that, you got many meanings to it. So we cannot be limited to that meaning of only monkey alone. And if you go to look at see, the lineage of Hanuman is traceable from Hanuman to Bhima in Mahabharata, who is a descendant of the Vayuputra. Hanuman claims Hanuman is
Bhima,
Vayuputra.
interestingly, again, is a Vayu, son born out of Vayu to Kunti.
So that is there.
So there is a connect which is flowing right from Ramayana, you find, and you find a connect at the Mahabharata level, which comes 2000 years later.
And where Arjuna's flag is actually Hanuman.
Vanara Dwaja.
Vanara Dwaja is God. And then coming down, all the way down to present times, if you look at it here, this is what I want to show you. This particular hill called Anjanadri that is there in the Tirumala Saptagiri hills.
Tirupati hills.
Where Lord Balaji Tirupati is there, the most famous Hindu temple now, the probably richest or the where maximum crowd comes. Here, one of these hills is called Anjanadri. So this hill is called Anjanadri. You have to climb and cross Anjanadri to go up to Tirupati. So this is named after her family, Anjana's family. So she was probably a resident. Her family was from here, this particular hill. And if you look up, go up here to Anagada, this is where near Bellary, Angada was from. That is who followed Sugriva. That is Vali's son. He was from there. And you go to Rishyamukha. This is where these people lived. See, so everything tallies very well with the geography of the land. And look at the word. The word Vanara, also known as Rama Banta, from which you get the word Banta, Panta, Pantu. And today a lot of people are called Pantu, Pantulu, Pant, Pantu. So they're all people who belong to this particular flow of thought, knowledge, not just genealogically, not just biologically, but even thought-wise, they are descendants of these people. And today you have a lot of tribes in Andhra Pradesh, that particular area, central India, Deccan area, we call Banjara tribes. There's one of the prominent localities in Hyderabad is called Banjara Hills now. That's where the rich and famous stay. Like how you got Hollywood Boulevard in California where all the film stars stay. In Hyderabad where all the film stars stay is called Banjara Hills. So the word Banjara itself comes Vana Jara. Jara means old people. So the very ancient old people stayed here. So this all again goes back to the legend of Hanuman. See how there's a continuous connect now with people living there everywhere. So we see this continuous connect across times of people. From then for the last 7,100 years and more, we see a connect with Hanuman right through the ages. And it spread all over India. That's what we see here, a clear connect. And it traces all over the world that you see.
this is something very interesting. Since you have a person, Salami from Persia, Iran, there is a nice thing very close by in Persia. They have found, actually, this is in Iraq though, Suleimania.
That was also called Persia before.
Yes.
Both Iran, Iraq is called Persia.
Persia and Iran, Iraq, Armenia, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan is all Persian. Yes.
Persia is of course an English word.
Even
The original word is Farsi.
no, actually the Mahabharat word is Parsik. P-A-R-S-I-K. Parsik.
Yeah, Parsik. Correct.
And here, there have been some recent photographs that are circulating about Ram and Hanuman. I mean, figures which resemble Ram and Hanuman in the cliffs. Some people say it's just a warrior, and he is about to quell this person, and this person is pleading for mercy. But then, if you look at the face and the calmness, it doesn't look like he's pleading for mercy, and this person is ready to attack.
Even Hanuman.
Hanuman, he's so much like Hanuman.
No.
And you got Rama with the bow here.
And
Yeah,
the calmness in the faces don't show the thing of attack.
See here, clearly you can see Rama with his bow, which is the Kodanda. You look at the bow here. You can clearly see the bow in Rama's hand. And Rama is supposed to be Ajanubhava, very tall, Ajanubhava. And here is Hanuman there praying to Rama. Very clearly, this is there up, high up in the hills.
In some cliff, actually it is there.
See, it's high up in the cliff here.
Yeah, our Vedic, the Vedic gurus have put symbols in such places that many people will be difficult to take them down. They have to blast them.
So that we can still find them even when during our age.
Yes, sometimes.
And very interestingly, Persian kings, I think one of the sessions before we saw, right, how the names of the kings, Tusharat, and so many other names which are like
the kings of Turkey.
Who have names of the solar dynasty, all related to sun.
See, right now the word Turkey looks like a bird in North America, but the Mahabharat word is Turkayamasu. Turkayamasu. So the word Turk is also ours. So correct. I don't know what identity they have of their own. Even the word is Indian. So for the viewers who are watching this show, we'll continue this discussion more and more about Hanuman. But those of you who are following Hanuman, D.K. Hariji, Hema Hariji has said you are totally bona fide. It's as per the Shastra. And the message of Hanuman is now more important than ever before. And message of Ram is Hanuman is very simple. Keep Ram in your heart and focus on Buddhi, Dhriti, Dhairya, and last one.
Buddhi, Balam, Yasho, Dhairyam.
Buddhi, Balam, Yasho, Dhairya. Please focus on that.
Balam, Yasho, Dhairyam, Nirbhayatvam, Arogatam, Ajatyam, Vakpatutvam cha, Hanumat Smaranat Bhavet.
Correct. So when you focus on Hanuman, meditate on Hanuman, and with proper, we will share with you these prayers. I'll share with you. They're very commonly known, and you build all these qualities in you, because ultimately we worship these great personalities so that we become a better person. And that's the point of our show, is that we don't want you to just hear them and go away, but learn, with D.K. Hari and Hema Hari have so well explained about Hanuman. It's time to bring them or take them in our own life and build our character. So thank you all. Thank you very much, D.K. Hariji, Hema Hariji, and I would like the people who are watching this show live, do go to YouTube and go to the website bharathgyan.com, and there you can find all this material. You can go to the YouTube, and also on the YouTube also you can search it over there. So without delay, let us thank them, and then we invite them for the next session to conclude what we spoke today. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.